Good morning, everyone. Everyone doing all right this morning? All right. Just a quick sound check online. We've got several people on Zoom. Hopefully, everyone's hearing audio now. Certainly, if anything, let us know online. First thing, good morning to everyone. My name is Austin Thayer. I'm the feed program here for the South Carolina Department of Agriculture. Appreciate everyone joining us this morning. This is really the first time that we've gotten to do something like this, to have people come in to talk about feed safety, and especially now with COVID and interesting times. We appreciate everyone coming, and we've got quite a few people joining us online on Zoom too. Just another couple brief introductions for those that are in the room. Down front that's doing the meeting this morning is Lori Belgrady. She's our AFRIPS coordinator with our feed program. Sign in at the door is Bernadette Mundo. She's our feed registration specialist. So kind of as we talk about some more registration and labeling related issues later in the day, most of the time when you call, you'll probably be speaking with Bernadette. And then over here on the left is Mr. Oliver Harrelson, and Oliver Harrelson is our feed inspector that covers Region 1 in the state, which is essentially kind of Columbia, Richland County, and everything down to the coast. So some of you may be familiar with him. So we've got a couple other staff members that are finishing up an FDA training course this morning. But other than that, again, just welcome, and hopefully, we want this to be, beneficial for everyone today. This is a high-level meeting. Some of the information that we'll cover, we're not going to do, too much deep dive on stuff, but this is casual and conversational. So, feel free to, ask any questions. Raise your hand. We'll share mics around, and you'll see I've got two mics here. One is so everyone on Zoom can hear us, and one is so everyone here can hear all right. But we've got some dedicated Q&A time at the end of the day for anything extra, but definitely feel free to stop us at any point, and if there's any specific questions. So with that, we'll get started just with the first presentation this morning. And I apologize, y'all get to hear from me several times throughout the day. So let me share my screen real quick. All right. One more, I always love that stuff, right? One more just housekeeping note too for everyone online and here. We did send out, we're going to send out today a survey. Again, since this is the first time that we've done something like this, appreciate everyone take the time just to fill that out. It's like 2 questions, and just to give us some feedback on how we can make this better in the future if we do it again, or something like that. If you don't like something we've done or whatnot, just let us know. First thing this morning, before we kind of get into some of the registration related changes, we really wanted to do just a review of our feed safety program, because I know, with several of the people here, we see you throughout the year for inspections and stuff like that, but we don't really have an opportunity all the time to talk to you about all the different things we do here in the office and stuff outside of the inspection related stuff. So just a quick overview for our feed safety program. This right here is just a facility distribution map, just to give everyone an idea kind of facilities in the United States. The one on the left are all feed mills in the United States, and the purple one on the right is a distribution of all pet food facilities in the United States. So you'll see here, in South Carolina, we have a pretty good mixture of both. To give you another idea, kind of just some small statistics. I don't know if y'all can read that well on the screen there, but this is nationally that feed sales, total sales are close to $300 billion in the United States. They provide close to 1 million jobs and over $22 billion in taxes each year. In the center, you'll see that consumption by species, with beef cattle up top, followed by broiler chickens and hogs and dairy cattle, just to give you an idea of consumption in tons by species. And then in the United States, again, on the right, you'll see the top 5 ingredients that are used, with corn leading the way, followed by soybean meal, DDGs, and wheat products, and then animal protein products. To drill down a little bit more on that, in South Carolina, total feed sales are close to they're close to $3 billion. And these numbers are from a couple years ago. They actually come from iFeeder, which is the Institute for Feed Education and Research. That's through the American Feed Industry Association. They have some other numbers online that are a little bit more updated, but pretty close to what these are here. In South Carolina, it's over 8,000 jobs and over $182 million in taxes that feed provides in this state alone. And then top 5 animal species in South Carolina by consumption: broilers, layers, beef cattle, hogs, and horses. Then again, and ingredients kind of mirror the same nationally with corn, soybean meal, DDGs, and wheat products. So just to give everyone just a general idea of kind of what we're looking like in South Carolina. And again, we want to be clear, kind of what our jobs are here with SCDA and why we feel like feed regulation is important. That's obviously to safeguard the health of humans and animals. We're within Consumer Protection Division of the South Carolina Department of Agriculture, and we're here to provide a level playing field for orderly commerce for businesses and companies like yourself. The legal foundation of our jobs and where we get the authority to do our jobs here in South Carolina is the South Carolina Commercial Feed Act. And then also the South Carolina Food and Cosmetic Act, and then the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act. And I'm not going to go, in depth on those, but basically, for commercial feed, the products that we regulate are animal food products, products that are, only allowed to claim either they provide nutrition, taste, or aroma, or a technical effect to the feed, like a flow agent or something like that. And we don't deal with drugs. Any claims for products that we receive for registration that claim to diagnose, mitigate, treat, cure, prevent disease, we consider drug claims, and those fall under animal drug rules with FDA. So for feed products, again, just a high level overview. For ingredients that we take a look at, there are several legal pathways for ingredients to be approved and for us to accept them for registration. When you submit products for registration, we do a review of all the labels. We look heavily at the ingredient statements to make sure the ingredients contained in the ingredient statement are kind of meet one of this criteria here. They're either an approved food additive by the FDA, that they're generally recognized as safe by the FDA, or that they are AFCO defined, and all three of those processes have a scientific review portion that goes through the FDA Center for Veterinary Medicine. There are other things like common or usual ingredients like corn and things that you won't see listed in those resources that we all know as common foods. The process for each of those legal pathways, when a company wants to submit, a new novel feed ingredient for review through one of those pathways, is that there's a lot of requirements. There's a lot of time and effort goes into that, and this just gives you an idea of the food additive petition process. Some of the requirements that they're looking at research-wise are human food safety, target animal food safety and environmental impact, labeling, utility of the ingredient, and the company has to kind of submit a proposed regulation for that ingredient. The whole process has some statutory requirements around it for the Center for Veterinary Medicine, and they have to review that submission within 90 to 180 days and provide feedback to the company. The GRAS process for generally recognized as safe is very similar. Again, they're looking at kind of all of those same factors for the food additive petition process, but then also it has to be generally recognized as safe by the scientific community. So, and again, it's another statutory requirement from CVM to review those between 180 and 270 days. So. Again, for AFCO, the feed ingredient definition process, some of the things that are looked at during that process are, the proposed definition, the rationale for the request, description of the ingredient, manufacturing process, any limitations, and then data to support the intended use of that ingredient. We're not going into ingredient definition proposal process, but we think it's important, for everyone to know that there's when we look at ingredients, it seems like just a very easy thing to look at an ingredient statement listing, but we're looking there's a lot of science and a lot of effort that goes into the way things are listed and the way that they should show up on an ingredient statement. And it's important for us to kind of just give everyone an idea of what goes in behind that process. Speaking about AFCO, just want to, a quick plug for AFCO is the Association of American Feed Control Officials. That's a national nonprofit association made up of really each state feed agency and FDA. And we participate within AFCO in different roles. There's different committees as AFCO investigators that help look at some of these new novel ingredients. And and we're also, we're committee chairs, and we participate in AFCO in a lot of ways. Our laboratory across the street here participates in the AFCO proficiency testing program to make sure that we're, our samples that we're running in the lab kind of, that we're doing a good job in that area. So just a quick plug for AFCO. AFCO puts together the most comprehensive ingredients each year. It's called the AFCO official publication, and that's in chapter 6 of that publication. So strongly recommend. It is a great resource. They have other labeling resources and guides, and so strongly recommend everyone looking that up. All right, so moving on, how do we use all this information within our feed program? Basically, all this information goes to support our product registration process, our inspection process, and then our sampling program. Product registration, which is probably the main reason why most people are here or are listening in today. South Carolina, this is the way that we basically we fund our feed program, but then also keep track of all the products that are on the market in South Carolina. Historically, product registrations have been from October to September each year, and have been $15 per product. We've made a change this year to update that to $20 per product. And our registration season is going to run the calendar year from January to December. So hopefully that aligns us a little bit more closely with other states and makes that easier for the industry. And we're also issuing this year for the first time a $10 late fee per product for anything received after January 15th. Now I'll say that is in that new late fee is official, but we are not going to be enforcing the new late fee in calendar year 2022. We'll get into that later, but with the new registration system that we're going to be using online, we're going to be lenient with that this first year. We're starting from scratch. There's no historical data in that system, so essentially everything that we receive in 2022 in January is going to be considered a new product, and we're not going to issue any late fees, although we still would really appreciate everything by the 15th if possible. But when things are due to renew for the following year in 2023, if they're not received after January 15th, there will be an additional $10 per product. Going back to our South Carolina Commercial Feed Act, the way we define a commercial feed in South Carolina is all material distributed for use as a feed or for mixed feed. So that for registration purposes, we require anything that meets that definition is required to be registered as a feed product. And that definitely covers all products that are distributed in South Carolina, but then also additionally for all manufacturers that are located in the state. Even if you're manufacturing something, in South Carolina, if it's going to be sold elsewhere, the fact that you're manufacturing it here requires that it needs to be registered. So anyone that co-packs for another company or anything like that, please make sure that all those products that are manufactured here are registered as well. To give you an idea, just to overview our inspection program, currently in our inventory, over 500 businesses. We inspect all those businesses on 1 to 2 year inspection frequencies. So depending on the size of the business and type of products that are manufactured here, you can guarantee to see our inspectors at least once a year or every other year. Type of inspections that you'll see us out there in the field conducting are, thanks to FSMA, inspections for controls and CGMPs, for 21 CFR Part 507. If you're making medicated feed and you're using a Category 2 Type A medicated article, require a feed mill license, you'll see us doing licensed medicated inspections. And then also if you're making any other medicated feeds that don't require a feed mill license, we're still doing non-licensed medicated feed mill inspections. We're still out in the field doing BSE inspections to cover mad cow disease and any prohibited proteins. And then also retail inspections at all of the firms distributing feed across the state to make sure that things are registered, labeled appropriately, and all that good stuff. So also kind of want to mention too, for our manufacturing estate, we're doing what we call ingredient statement verification inspections. That's just something where we're really looking at kind of specifically the ingredient statement for those products, and looking at the products in the facility and manufacturing records to take a look at those ingredients and formulas. So, and then also our lab. So I mentioned, again, we have a laboratory right across the street from where we are here. We collect samples routinely every single week. It's the samples of finished feed products, of feed ingredients, of vitamin mineral supplements, you name it. If it's a commercial feed, it's registered for us. If it's in distribution in South Carolina, we are sampling it. A lot of times in our lab, some of the main things that we're looking for are protein, fat, fiber, all the nutritional guarantees on the label. Then also looking at some adulterants like mycotoxins, drug residues, and stuff like that. We run minerals and even some drugs over in our lab. So our staff also, we routinely we receive animal food safety complaints, feed quality complaints, where we'll go out to a farm or a consumer that feels like they've had maybe a feed related issue, and we'll sample the product as well. And then also, again, we participate in the AFCO proficiency testing program. Just to give you a little bit of an idea of, just kind of our sampling program, some of the things we've seen. From 2019, we collected about 5 routine samples. Of those 500 samples, we had about 150 samples fail, 131 for protein, fat, or fiber. 4 samples failed for drug level being adulterated, and then 15 for mycotoxins. We run aflatoxin, fumonisin, vomitoxin mainly. 2020, thanks to COVID, we were a little bit down from what we had kind of initially anticipated sampling for, but we still collected 503 routine samples. We had 86 samples fail, 80 for protein, fat, fiber, and 6 failed for mycotoxins, above FDA either action or guidance levels. And then also for this year so far, in October, we have collected 670 samples. This year we had 147 samples have failed, 141 for protein, fat, or fiber, 0 for drug level this year, which is good, and then 6 for mycotoxins. Next year, we're hoping to be around the 900 sample mark. So we're increasing sample number and capacity each year. One thing I want to mention too is that we, hopefully you never get a letter in the mail from us, but some of you may have. But we do issue penalties. Specifically, our feed law allows us to issue penalties for protein, fat, or fiber deficiencies. There is a formula for that. When routine samples fail for one of those, either protein, fat, or fiber, we will calculate that penalty and generally issue that in the mail. On top of that, we also send an inspector out to the facility wherever the product was sampled. And if there's anything that's still remaining there at the facility, we place it under stop sale until, something can be determined to do with it, whether it's relabeled or remixed or disposed of. We really leave that up to you, but that's on top of the penalty that we assess. And then our feed program is also participating in what's called the Animal Feed Regulatory Program Standards. That's a national program. It's 11 standards that cover everything from our inspection program to our sampling and how we keep track of our inventory. These standards were developed nationally by FDA and AFCO, and really they're there to make sure that our feed program is uniform with other feed programs across the country and with FDA on what we're doing. So we're held accountable to those things as well. We actually have an audit coming up here in 2 weeks. So just to let everyone know too that we do have another body of people that we're accountable to in our jobs. With that, that's just kind of the 20,000 foot view of our feed safety program. Does anyone here have any questions at all? Anyone online? Yes, sir. Say that one more time. Okay. You talking like pathogens, microbial pathogens, or impurities? Not really. So with our lab, so the question was, are we looking at any impurities on ingredients in our lab? Mainly what we're looking for are the nutritional guarantees that are on the label. So whether that's vitamins, minerals, or whatnot, but then also any adulterants or heavy metals. We do look at heavy metals. We test for pathogens as well. I didn't include that in there, but we do screen pet foods specifically for salmonella, E. coli, listeria, but mainly we're looking at the nutritional guarantees, any kind of adulterants. All right. Let's actually, I'll just pull the questions up here. Bear with me 1 second. I'll get some questions here. So one of the questions was a deadline for registration and the earliest time that you can submit renewals. So we're actually going to cover that here in a few minutes. But so the link was shared out to everyone for feed registrations. That is a testing environment link. It's essentially exactly what will be live here. We're hoping to have that up live in December for live registrations. But stay tuned for kind of more information on that. But we're hoping that December will be the earliest time that companies can go ahead and start submitting registrations for products. If not, definitely by January when the requirement is. The link that was shared out right now, again, being a testing environment, you can go on there. We encourage everyone actually to log in, create a profile, submit products for registration, just so you can see how the workflow happens in the system. And it also, on top of that, is going to help us kind of see if there's any small things that we need to fix or update before we do go live in December. Another question was that the question is, did I understand you to say that any products we previously had tested and have registration for will now need to be tested again and re-registered? Previous registration system that we used was Kelly Registrations Online. And if you had previously registered products through Kelly Registrations, you'll have to submit a brand new product registration in the new system in January. We're not carrying over products from the Kelly system to the new system. So it's kind of a fresh page for us to start with. Where do you find what the variance allowances are for each guaranteed nutrient? Our lab, we base all of our lab results on the AFCO analytical variations that you can find in the AFCO official publication. And so anything that falls outside of the guarantee, if it's also outside of the AFCO analytical variation, then we consider it a failed sample. Okay. All right, I think that's everything we have online right this second. One more. That's just a link for the AFCO analytical variations that were mentioned are on page 299 of the official publication. So thanks for including that. Is South Carolina planning to participate in the All-Star system Pet Food Institute is working on? So that's actually a system specifically Pet Food Institute's working on, where essentially products can be registered through the All-Star system, and then they're kind of distributed out to each state that participates. We have had some discussions with them on making sure that our systems can kind of talk electronically, and we're gonna see if we can work through that and see if it's a possibility. So I don't have a yes or no yet, but we're looking into that one for sure. Okay. All right. So what we're going to do is everyone can just bear with me for 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. And the next part today is that we're just going to walk through the new feed registration system and kind of just demo, how to create a user profile, how to upload products in there, and all that good stuff. So. Oh, so if anyone is submitted products for registration on the test site, yeah, we're gonna they're not we're not counting them as official, but we will. And again, we're encouraging people create a business on there, register as a user, submit products, and we will. We have the ability to review, reject, and send comments back, just like it was in real time. The only part that is not live is the payment portal. You'll see if you get all to the end, if we approve a product in the text, and you get an email generated to verify and make payment on that product, there are some notes down at the bottom of that payment page with some test numbers that you can input for a test credit card or a test ACH payment, just so you can kind of see how the process works. But payment, please don't enter any real credit card information. It won't go through. Yes, yeah. This will not the new registration system will not capture any kind of old login information from the Kelly registration site. So everything will be completely new. If you've used the old system in the past, you'll have to register again as a new user. Okay. Let me zoom in just a little bit. So everyone online and what you're seeing here in person on screen is the landing page for the new registration portal. you'll see on the landing page, we have included some of our policies for different type of ingredients. One for MSM and feed, one for glucosamine and chondroitin sulfate, and then one for hemp and hemp byproducts and animal feed. The info tab on each of those pulls up a PDF document with more information. And then also, just kidding. Also down at the bottom, we've got a frequently asked questions page that kind of answer, additional information about the registration process or anything in particular. It's got a lot of great information on there. So definitely, feel free. We encourage everyone to look at that page to answer any questions you've got. And then also, we're all here as a resource, and we've got a link to our feed registration at SCDA. So anyone can also email us anytime you have additional questions about anything. There's a link to also apply by mail. If you want to fill out a hard copy of the registration application, include your labels and a check, you can certainly mail that to the address on the form here. All right, so I'm just going to walk through this. First-time users, you'll have to click the sign-in button and register as a new user. Just bear with me for 1 second while I type. All right, and you'll see the phone number in the bottom. The system has dual factor authentication, and so everything has to be confirmed just for added security here. So you'll see that confirmation email has been sent. And let me pull that email up. Hopefully it'll come through in just a second. Always happens a lot quicker when you're doing this not in front of everyone on the meeting. Once you get that confirmation email, you can go back. Well, give me 1 second, everyone. Not sure why that email is not coming through. How about this? We'll try a different email address. I'll probably get multiple emails later in the day. Oh, I always love technology again. So how about this? I'll just sign in. All right, so we'll just sign in. You'll see once you sign in as a new user, after you've got your account created, you can either send that code by email or by text. I'm going to put that code in. Sign in. So you'll see that once you sign in, you land on a dashboard here. It's got the current amount due. Any previous registration applications you submitted are online, and they'll show up down here on the bottom. You can click manage here. So I want to manage my registrations. Let's edit application. Here you'll see information to list the manufacturer or co-packer information if someone else is manufacturing the product for you. So I'm just going to enter some random information. You'll see that all the fields that are required are obviously marked that way. And I apologize, everyone, for you'll have to watch me type, but I thought it would be helpful for everyone online just to see us walk through this. So I'm going to indicate here, if you're located in the state, please indicate, if you're manufacturing feed in South Carolina. Going on down to agents, if an agent is applying for a feed registration application for a third-party company, it's obviously for them, if that's applicable. Here we'll go to add our new feed products. Click new product. We'll select what type of product. Just for this example, we'll select pet food, but we've got pet food, pet treats, specialty pet food, livestock feed, medicated feed, several different examples of what type of products that may be registered. So we're gonna go with the pet food. Product name examples here, you'll see listed just a couple examples of how to list your product name. Certainly this is just a suggestion. Feel free to list your name, however you would like. Be helpful if I could type today. You can add a UPC number if you would like, and then also have to upload a copy of the label. So we will go here, and we have some label examples. That pet food label has now been uploaded. We'll click save down the bottom. So you'll see that that product has been added. It is currently pending submission. Go down, and we are again adding our name as a responsible party. And we're clicking submit. So once that has been submitted, you'll see you also get an email verification that shows you that product's been submitted for application. And once that it'll go to us for review and approval. There's nothing more you can do at that point until we're able to review the application in the office. You'll get some email notices, and Bernadette's actually looking at those right now to approve them. But you'll also notice too in this test environment, we kind of have the timelines set up pretty quickly for testing purposes. So you'll see a lot more emails than you generally would. You'll get, an email notice that the product's been submitted. Within, 20 to 30 minutes, you'll probably get an email notice that it's due for renewal. And another late reminder fee to renew the products. All those are going to come back to back to back just for testing purposes right now. So you can see how the process flows. Once we go live in December, those notices will be spread throughout the year. You'll get, your emails, when you submit the products, when they're approved. You'll get an email that you can that reminds you to make the payment on the product, and then after that's been made, you'll get an email that with a certificate, a feed registration certificate that'll come and list out all the products that you have registered. Later on in the year, closer to December, you'll get renewal notices, before the renewal season starts January 1st. So just tell you that to know you'll get a lot of emails right this second, just in the testing environment. Bernadette, has that been approved? The one I just submitted a product. Give us 1 second and we'll get, yep. Let me know whenever it's approved. Well, while she's approving that, does anyone here have any questions while she's working to approve that? Yeah. Yes, sir.
If product comes in and wasn't previously registered, is there a warning process or oh, FYI, we expect
Yeah, absolutely. So we do have a process for that. I'm glad you mentioned that. For everyone online, the question was, what's the process if maybe you don't have day-to-day, you're not in touch with your sales department, and maybe products being distributed or sold. So basically, our inspectors are out at facilities, retail locations, distributors all across the state. Each week, when we come across products that we look up, we have our database. Then we only require to be one registration, but not for different pack sizes. So. So in South Carolina, so our lab right across the street here, where we run just our regulatory samples, but there are private labs in the state that offer testing. I know one, here in Columbia, Han Labs is a good resource. The Clemson Livestock Poultry Health, they also have a feed and forage lab at Clemson University. So they're a good resource too. They accept samples, through each county extension office. So Clemson is just kind of a resource. They don't do any of the inspections or regulatory side. So basically, any samples that be submitted to Clemson lab are just gonna they're there for nutritional analysis to give you an idea of what your product is, what the guarantees on your product are. But the actual registration and the legal requirements are to come to us. Yes, sir. Yeah. It's two different labs and two different entities, but yeah, Clemson is a great resource. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Let's say this we have the distribution is very important. And that's something what?
It's whoever's name is listed on the label. So as far as all registration requirements, at the end of the day, the registrant or guarantor that's listed on the label is who is the responsible party for the product. So if that's the name of your company, or if it's co-packed and distributed by something else and their name appears on the label, that's who we're going to send the letter to, and that's who's going to be responsible for it. So whether or not internally you decide if you want to register, if you want the distributor to register, it's between y'all, but we're looking for the name on the label.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Bernadette, is that approved? Okay. All right, so going back, so Bernadette has had a chance to review the product I just submitted, and you'll see that I refresh my screen, and now it shows that I have $20 due to be paid for that one product. You'll see you can pay now. I want to pay the entire amount. And you'll see there's additional credit card fees and so on there for the system. I'm just going to do an ACH payment just to make this easy. You'll see down at the bottom in this testing environment, this is what I was talking about for the kind of the fake payment information for everyone. Just going to copy and paste that number in both fields and submit payment. Again, you'll get an email certificate generated with a receipt for that. Return to your dashboard, and you'll see now that there is a $0 due for that product. Once the payment has been made, you'll get an email generated with a certificate, so you have that for your records. Then also you can go here to the three dots and manage that product and view that certificate. So pretty easy and straightforward. That's a simple process for just one product, but that's kind of how the workflow goes. Again, just to kind of reiterate, once you submit all the products, there is a significant amount of time for us to review each of those, and we can submit feedback through the system and send messages if we would go to review labels and notice guarantee is missing or claims that maybe we wouldn't approve of. We'll talk about labeling claims after lunch, but that will essentially kind of, that's how the process goes. And once that's approved, you don't have access to make payment or get any kind of certificate until those products have been approved by us. So I'm checking to see if there's any questions online. All right. Yes. Yep. 1 second. We'll get to everyone's questions. All right. So create the user in the test system. Will they need to create the user again when the system goes live? Yes. Yep. System is just for testing purposes right now, for everyone to kind of get a feel for how the workflow works, and for us to provide any feedback for us over the next month or two before December. So yeah, if you create a user right now, you will certainly have to do that all over again in December when we go live. So fertilizer, this does not apply to fertilizer. This is commercial feed products only. Fertilizer registration in South Carolina goes through Clemson University. So you'll have to find more information there with Clemson. And we'll certainly, sorry if we miss a question here, we'll get to them and provide some answers. So the question is, will there be an option to register or renew feeds online and print an invoice to mail in with a check? No. So if you want to mail a check in, you'll need to print the form out, fill it out by hand, and send that in with the check and a copy of the label. Online is strictly for online payments only. We certainly appreciate the feedback on any emails. So we'll make sure and check with the developers on any email notification problems and make sure we get that addressed. Also, just a reminder, check your spam folder in case any of those email notifications go there. So the question is, what if there are two people that manage this and need access to the system? There can only be one registered user per business. And so we would recommend, if that's the case, to maybe use a general, registration email address for the company and provide that info to both of those people. They can log in separately, but it's one user per company. Another question, will you need to add all current labels that are already registered or just new labels? It'll be all labels. Again, we're starting fresh. This is a whole new system not related to the Kelly registration system that we've used in the past. So historically, if you've uploaded labels for anything in the past, you'll need to, it's a brand new registration, submit a new label all over again in January. Going forward after this year, that won't be the case. They'll be there for 2023, but this first year, everything will be considered new. This question is on the box to indicate if located in South Carolina. They want to verify if this is tied to the physical address of the facility. Where do you indicate a separate mailing address? So there is a spot for a separate mailing address on there, but that box for manufacturing in South Carolina is to notify us if the manufacturer of the product is located in South Carolina. UPC code is not required. It's there optionally in case someone wants to include that information. Hopefully everyone has audio and video. Sorry for technical difficulties. Can a check be sent in for payment? Yes, if it is included, again, with that mail-in application. But it can't be filled out online and then an additional check sent in separately. You can pay online with a credit card. Someone says our company is approved. How soon can we submit our products? This is a test environment. You can submit them immediately. We'll work through them and get them approved as quickly as possible, just so people can kind of see the workflow and get those email notices, so everyone can be a little bit more comfortable come January. The link for the test site, it was sent out with the email. I think Lori can provide that in the chat box if anyone still needs it. Yeah, and again, so question is that they want to make sure that they need to have everything submitted by January 15th, that they'll not be penalized if the products have not been approved or paid for by the state. And that is correct. Yeah, everything should be submitted by the 15th. As long as it's been received by the 15th, there will not be any additional late fees or penalties assessed by it, even if we don't get it approved until February due to workload. we register well over 20,000 products each year. So it definitely, with 6 people full time, it takes time to get all those approved. But as long as it's been received in the system by the 15th, there'll be no additional penalties. All right, guys, and I'll continue to look at these questions over lunch, and we'll come back with a few additional answers. But it's 12 o'clock, so we'll stop and break for lunch here for the people in person. And certainly, please keep sending us questions, and we'll discuss them here after lunch. But for everyone here, lunch is located on the back table, and for everyone online, we'll give you a little bit of a break for about an hour, and we'll be back at 1 o'clock to start back with the afternoon. Thank you. All right. Hey, it's 1 o'clock, so we'll get going here after lunch real quick. Hopefully everyone will join back in with us online. Again, I want to apologize for the technical difficulties today. Hopefully, yeah, it's always a trial run on doing these type of things, and we'll get them sorted out for the next time. But this is being recorded, so we'll share that out, and hopefully we'll have to deal with this. Just real quick, and people online, just bear with us for a second. If one completed label exercise lunch, I just want to go over the answers. See, this is the honor system on telling me how many you got wrong. I've got first thing missing on this label is a purpose statement for the species and type of feed. Next thing are missing feeding directions. The next thing is spelling of beet sugar, and the ingredient statement is spelled wrong. You'll also notice Monensin 90s included in the ingredient statement, and that's a drug. So we'd be looking for Monensin and a medicated feed label there. Corn listing in the ingredient statement. And then there's also a collective term there. So can't have both. Needs to be listed as the individual grain ingredients or as plant protein products. Should be a probiotic guarantee in the ingredient statement. I see there's some probiotics listed there, but there's no probiotic guarantee. Vitamins, the way it's listed in the ingredient statement, would be unacceptable. Additionally, the order of the guarantees and the guaranteed analysis, they're out of order. And the protein level you'll see there is listed as 16%, although the name of the feed is not 18% feed. So there's a discrepancy there. Fiber guarantee should be listed as a maximum. There should also be a maximum guarantee on that label for equivalent crude protein from non-protein nitrogen, because you do see urea listed in that ingredient statement there, and there's no additional guarantee. Units on selenium should be listed as parts per million. You'll notice the town and zip code are missing. And then the net weight should also be in metric units. So that would have been a total of 15 errors on that label. Get close to 50. That is the total potassium. So should be the total potassium in that. Yeah, yeah, it's a little high, a little high. Anyone get close to 15? 10? 10. Anyone else get close to 10 of those? All right, man, you get it. You get it. It's you get a round of applause. So, all right. So appreciate that. And again, that label, we like to do these label exercises from time to time with our staff. And again, just so y'all have an idea, those are the type of things we look for when you submit those products for registration. And when we take that time to review them, we're looking at all of those type of things. So, All right, portion of this presentation this afternoon, we really just want to cover, some high-level feed labeling requirements. Again, there are additional resources that we would point everyone to for, to look at for a little bit more specifics. Active has a feed labeling guide that's a free resource online you can go to for all livestock feeds. And then there's also a pet food labeling guide that you can purchase on the AFCO website as well for all pet foods and pet treats. And that there's a small cost to that one, but again, it's a great resource that we highly recommend to everyone. But what we can cover is just a high level. That's what we're looking for, and certainly if there's any more specific questions, please let us know, and we'll get to that. So all right, so per the South Carolina Commercial Feed Act, all feeds manufactured or sold in the state are required to be registered. Again, we mentioned that this morning. That includes all single feed ingredients unless they're specifically exempted from the South Carolina Commercial Feed Law, like whole seeds and things like that. Livestock feeds, medicated feeds, pet food, any type of nutritional supplement, if it's claiming to provide nutrition, taste, or aroma, it's being marketed for animals, is required to be registered. That also includes, pet food ingredients that are intended for further manufacturing, like palatability enhancers, natural flavor ingredients, and so on and so forth. And this labeling applies to all registered products.
A little bit of more information on there. Labeling requirements and all this are going to be also for any product sold online, and registration as well. So for labeling requirements, this is for our state. So at a minimum, we'll look for product name, guarantee analysis, ingredient statement, directions of use or feeding directions, firm's name, and address, and a net weight statement.
All right, for the product name, the name should not be misleading and should state the intended use, intended species to consume the feed, or else include that in a purpose statement. If the product name indicates a specific life stage, the feed's composition should correspond to that, whether it's the starter, finisher, or complete feed. And then a purpose statement that clearly identifies the intended use and species is required if it's not evident in the product name again.
For guarantee analysis, in your normal usual product, it will be as a minimum crude protein, crude fat, and crude fiber. Again, this might change based on your product, the intended use, what species you're giving it to. It just might be minerals listed there. It might just be vitamins listed there. It all depends on what type of product. And it's very important to pay attention on the listing order. Again, just like it's listed there in like the slideshow, crude protein, fat, and fiber goes listed that same way.
So the ingredient statement, all ingredients should be listed individually in descending order of predominance and in a uniform font size. They should not include any reference to quality or grade in the ingredient statement. A lot of times we see that, firms want, marketing departments specifically, that want to call out specific ingredients or make them bold or a larger font. That cannot be in the ingredient statement listing. If anything like that, it can be included elsewhere on the label if you want to, point something out or kind of point to it, but definitely not in the ingredient statement. Again, those ingredients in the product should be AFCO defined, a food additive, or approved color additive, generally recognized as safe or a common or usual ingredient. If not, if we review a product and we find, something in there there's no approval, no regulatory approval for, that's when we'll deny those products, put them on hold, send some feedback back to let you know that, and certainly give you an opportunity to either talk to your nutritionist, reformulate the product, or resubmit that application.
So the directions for use, feeding directions, or even mixing directions will be used for directions on relativity of the animal's weight and lifestyle per the time that it needs to be fed for the animal. Other things can go along the feeding directions, including what type of the animals are not supposed to be fed with this food. And there's an example here that if a product contains animal proteins prohibited in ruminant feeds, they must contain a statement meaning do not feed to cattle or ruminants, and the label's principal display panel.
And then also to make sure that the firm name and address on the label should be one that the that mail can be delivered to. We get that quite a bit with returned mail. And we also, there may be another qualifying phrase required on the label, either manufactured by, manufactured for, or distributed by. And then the net weight statement should be clearly and legibly stated on the bag. And it should be expressed in both English and metric units, liquid measure, or by count in the case of pet treats or anything like that.
So medicated feeds are going to be labeled a tiny bit different than usual label. So per FDA Bluebird labels, these might be verbatim. It can be labeled for the product name as type A, type B, or type C, and the intended use must be stated as well. Your ingredient statement is going to be a little bit different as well. The active ingredient is going to be your medicated ingredient, and then every other ingredient is going to go in your ingredient statement. The directions will need to be provided for information regarding the intended use of the feed. What amount are you going to provide for your animal if missing? Weight restrictions and missing instructions, especially for that type A and type B medicated feed, and any withdrawal time. Additional information will be required based on the Bluebird label, especially warning statements, caution, withdrawal time, and anything else placed on the Bluebird label.
For single ingredient product labels, again, product name, its brand name, if it's applicable, a purpose statement, whether that single ingredient is intended to be fed or for further manufacturing, also guaranteed analysis, ingredient statement, if there are any other additives there, directions for safe and effective use, and required precautionary statements, if any, and again, manufacturer and distributor's name and address, and the quantity or net weight statement.
So talking about marketing, product claims. There's some that are allowed, there's some that might not be good, and there's some others that might be okay if you submit further documentation to substantiate them. Something that is a no-no always is going to be a drug claim. This is going to be anything that is portraying your product as to diagnose, mitigate, treat, cure, or prevent disease. Especially these claims will start with anything that is called improves, decrease, eliminates, treats, XY disease. Any reference to USDA, it's actually not allowed. USDA only regulates products intended for human consumption. It doesn't fall under the animal food. So those will be called out as well. No hormones, just because it's actually prohibited by federal law to have hormones on your poultry or your pork. So those are being called out too. And then another statement is FDA, AFCO, or SCDA approved. We do require your labels to have all these, and we'll approve them for the state, but it's not actually meant for you to put on there. Like, we approve your labels. And then another thing is, okay, with further documentation, human grade claims, they're good, but you'll also need to substantiate that your product is being manufactured for human consumption. Ingredients and nutritional claims, non-GMO, all-natural organic claims, and made in the US. Those are also going to be maybe substantiated, especially if it's made in the US. That's meaning all products are from the US. It's not bananas from Guatemala. It needs to be from the US and then manufactured here in the state, in the nation as well.
And just a reminder to send labels. A lot of times throughout the year, we receive applications for registration that are missing labels. We get just the application form with a check, and we certainly can't process anything unless we have a copy of the label. If you submit it online, it won't let you actually submit the application unless a PDF copy of the label is attached. So it's kind of a safeguard there. But if you're mailing anything in, please remember to stick the label in the package too, because we can't approve it without that. We reserve the right to refuse any registration if the name and ingredients are misleading and no changes are made, if ingredients are not stated accurately, or if the product makes any misleading claims that can't be substantiated with further documentation. With that, any other registration questions can be emailed to our feed registration at scda.sc.gov email address, or feel free to call us. Does anyone here have any questions, any specific labeling questions at all? I'm sure there might be some. Is there any online, Lori? Okay.
So the first question is, do the requirements include wildlife?
Do the requirements apply to feed for wildlife? Yes, yeah, that is correct. Yeah, if it meets the definition of a commercial feed, whether it's intended for livestock, animals, pets, or wildlife, that's still a commercial feed, and these requirements do apply.
And the second question is help support considered a drug claim?
No, that one's borderline, but helps and supports, we would typically allow those. All right, anything else here? Okay, so that kind of ends that. That's a quick brief presentation there. That kind of leads us really to just an additional time for Q&A. If anyone online, again, has additional questions, maybe something that wasn't covered today, anything specific to the website that was shared, or any feed information in general, now would be the time to ask those or to send them. So I'll give everyone just a minute online to send those in. Yeah, this meeting has been recorded, and we'll send this out and share the link to everyone that was signed up. The South Carolina requirements there's none really within our state laws that are specific really only to South Carolina. We try to be pretty uniform and reference the AFCO model laws and regulations when possible too. So usually our recommendation is if you kind of label a product and follow the AFCO laws and model regulations, then you'll be pretty safe for South Carolina and many other states.
Requirements are provided that facility or manufacturer is already compliant with this man at the SCDA.
Right.
Other requirements for that transition. Let's say we want to have one ingredient, but then we also want to sell it to feed.
Yeah, so for those online, the questions related to difference between human food grade ingredients and feed grade, really, and the type of facility it's manufactured, and it really comes down on a labeling or registration point. It depends on the marketing claims that are on the label. If you want to claim on the label that it's a human grade lysine or or amino acid, then that's certainly allowed, but we would ask for further documentation, and we would point you back towards the AFCO official publication. There are guidelines for making human food human grade claims in that document. And that's generally what we would point out. And we would want to make sure that the facility that's making that ingredient is compliant with the human food regulations, which is 21 CFR Part 117. And any kind of inspection reports or that you could provide to show that it was compliant with Part 117, we would accept. And then also, depending on what state that's located in, because that may not be South Carolina, we would want, a certificate or a license from the state entity that inspects that facility, whether it's the state or FDA. Or international, yeah. So, yeah, any kind of documentation that you can show that facility is compliant with Part 117 would be great for us. If you don't want to put that it's human grade on the label, then we're not even worried about it. All right. Yes, sir. Yeah, and if it's got an AFCO definition, just make sure it adheres to that definition and any additional guarantees that are listed out in that definition. For like feeding directions, recommended feeding directions. Really, that's up to you as the feed manufacturer to list out. It's kind of subjective. Depending on the type of feed or the life stage it's intended for, it's up to you to decide to that, or to talk to a nutritionist and figure that out. Yeah, it's so on medicated feeds, generally there is a specific feeding directions for, as a sole ration or for 5 days or 10 days or, whatever the drug or indication might be. Just on a regular livestock feed, like a beef cow feed, that's kind of subjective to you as the manufacturer and what you want to recommend that user to feed that. There's nothing, no set guidelines. It has to be, a certain amount. Yes, sir. Yeah. All right.
Farmers markets that have eggs and dairy products in them.
Yes, yeah, we do allow in South Carolina at least allow pet treats to be manufactured in a home on a small scale. Those can be sold anywhere in the state once they have been registered and approved. If they have not been registered or approved by us and they are for sale to farmers market and an inspector comes across them, they are subject to regulatory action. But they're just as long as they're registered, you can sell them anywhere in the state. Anything else online? Okay, good. Well, again, we appreciate everyone joining us today in person and online. We will send out a survey for today here shortly, and please feel free to reach out to the office at the email address or phone number listed on the screen with any further questions. And we look forward to working with everyone this next season starting in December. And definitely reach out if anyone needs anything. So thank you.